What's going on, Jeromes? Happy Sunday, and we're doing up our Q&A, so let's get it going. Traveler, I'm fairly certain Andy could do an entire Vikings episode using just song or movie quotes references. That's also fair. It's also funny, too. So, met a bunch of Jeromes out in San Diego. First off, really excited and happy with how things went filming out there in SD. Big props to Guava Beach, as well as my videographer, Jamie, absolute rock star. And like it's different than our normal content, but also it could be the future of what we're going to do. And it's a lot of fun, man. But a couple people have noted that my references skew older than I actually am, because I'm 36, and like a lot of my references are very boomer-ish. I don't know. I think I just understand references, but some of the younger ones gets a little bit dicey. Michael Converse, because you are always so optimistic, I'm curious, what draft pick or notable free agent signing do you dislike, or which do you like the least? All right, so can't say that I hate any. I think the Vikings got good value at all of them. I actually like the Blackman pick a lot more than a lot of people did. I was higher on him in the draft process than others. I love Jay Ward, love Jaquelin. Offensively, I mean, Hall was great. McBride's a huge value. Addison was the guy. I guess for agency, I understand the Lowry pickup. Would have liked them to be a little bit more assertive in free agency along the defensive line or make a larger splash, but it sort of is what it is. But Lowry certainly will add veteran depth and be serviceable from there. Next up, Tyler Hills. Andy, I have enjoyed your content for years. As a Chiefs fan for 20 plus years, I view the Vikings like an NFC brother. See, that's the thing too. I feel like you can you have your team, yes, but you can have a secondary team, but they got to be out of conference. Like Vikings fans can't be, I don't know, Giants fans. I don't know. That's actually a bad example. Like Vikings fans can't be commie fans, right? But Vikings fans, I mean, you could pick up the Chargers, you could pick up the Raiders. Actually, I think the Raiders are sort of my secondary team. Anyways, years duking out in Mankato Falls. So for a number of years, the Vikings used to be in Mankato, and the Chiefs, for whatever reason, used to be in River Falls, Wisconsin. And then they would always scrimmage, and it was always fun. Went to a bunch as a kid. I was wondering if you could give a sales pitch on moving from vacation land to the land of 10,000 lakes. The recent legislative commitment to the people has my interest piqued. Striking distance to Arrowhead on Zillow. I zoomed into Minnesota, and first town I landed in was Arden Hills, Minnesota. Not saying I believe in fate, but I was amused given my surname. Tyler Hills. I get it. So, I don't know why she moved to Minnesota. I feel like taxes are high. That's the thing. Also, weather gets cold in the winter, but you do get used to it. And I feel like, I've had the benefit of, I grew up in rural Minnesota, and now I live in the metro. So you sort of it gives you a bit more of an understanding of the whole state. I think this is a state overall of good people. I think that, the whole Minnesota nice thing, it's, I mean, sure, it's a little bit passive aggressive at times, but I think overall, most people are good overall, but especially in this state, I think that if you find the right neighborhood or city, there's a very good sense of community. If you get involved, I think that trying to tread lightly here. I think some issues with the state are overblown, and I think some are underblown, if that makes sense. But overall, like, I'm very happy to raise my family here at this moment in time. I think that the educational system is good. I think that overall, I mean, it's just a good state, and there's always things to do. And winter, you get used to it. I mean, let's be honest here. Like, I've had 34 winters here in Minnesota now, and maybe it's me getting old, but the last one sort of kicked my ass a little bit, but you do get used to it. And now as we're hitting summer, like, there's nothing better than Minnesota summer. I mean, there really isn't. And, you can have all of your Key West and Cozumel and beaches and all that beautiful tropical stuff. I mean, on a lake with some good tunes and some good people after a day out on the boat. I mean, there's really nothing better. Really nothing better. But yeah, Minnesota's great. John Anderson TV. As always, thanks for the great content. Always brightens up my day. Hey, thank you. I know we have a season ahead of us, but given the fact that Kwesi wanted to trade up for Young, do you think he will try to trade for Williams next year if the worst team already have a quarterback, a.k.a. the Bears? It'd be funny if the Bears have back-to-back number 1 overall picks. But, I mean, I feel like if the Bears ended up with 1, Fields will be a big issue with that, so maybe not. But could it be a spot where, yes, they were interested in the guy who went number 1? Sure. But I could see them potentially maneuvering for a quarterback. And maybe not even Williams or May, the presumptive 1-2. Maybe if a guy like Penix or Ewers or Van Dyke or whoever goes in the top half of the first round, maybe that makes more sense. We'll see. Skull Christopher. 2 questions. Number 1, if Dalvin takes a pay cut to stay, how do you think that changes things with Madison? I think that their relationship is exactly what it's always been. As you mentioned in previous videos, it seemed like Madison took the deal with insurance. He's going to be the guy. Now, he said that there was no talk or assurances. I feel like he wouldn't have taken that deal so quickly if there wasn't a little bit of wink nudge sort of thing going on. But I mean, maybe since Dalvin's a little bit older, it takes a little bit more off of his plate and give a little bit more to Madison, which makes some sense. Also potentially working in some Chandler and McBride. I do think if Dalvin comes back, Kincaid, especially with the new kickoff rules, could be the odd man out, but we'll see. What do you think timeline is getting some O-line help in the form of signing a guy like Dalton Reisner? When might the Vikings look to do that since they're just I would ideally like to do it now, as there's a couple OTAs left and before mandatory minicamp. Just really getting him up to speed so he's not coming in cold in training camp. Would like to see it. And also, it is so weird that Reisner doesn't have a team in it. Unless him and his agent are just holding out for premium money, which probably isn't going to happen at this point. I don't understand it. I really don't. Justin Strollenberg. Who are you more excited for, Mekhi Blackmon and Jay Ward or Caleb Evans and Andrew Booth Jr.? I'd like to see more Booth and Evans. From what we've seen last year, they both look promising. I'm excited for all 4 because I actually do think that Blackmon could come in and win the starting job at corner. I think Jay Ward is going to be a heat-seeking missile on special teams, eventually work his way into the lineup. Love his versatility. Evans showed a lot. And I think that some work on his tackling technique, which he talked about, which potentially resulted in some of his concussions, as well as getting a new helmet, all that stuff. I think that if he can stay on the field, I think that he could be a real asset. And Booth, I mean, Booth's problem, whether it was here or Clemson, has been health. So if he can stay healthy, I mean, there's a reason why, with all of his health issues, he still went at the top of the second round. He's still a first-round talent, so we'll see. Evan Cascanaway. Who made you more anxious on punt returns, Dede Westbrook or Jalen Rager? Dede was always backtracking the ball. It made me nervous every single time. Both of them. Both of them were habitual line steppers, and I don't trust either of them. Traveler. Random, but I always wondered what you liked about Teddy Bridgewater even after he left the Vikings. Teddy seemed to be a fan favorite of you. I really liked his character, and I understand that you don't necessarily need character to be a quarterback, but I mean there's a reason why. Like even when he was back up with the Saints and back up with the Dolphins, like the team rallied around him. They absolutely love him. He's the type of guy that you'd want your daughter to date. Sort of deal. Plus, I was really bullish on him in year 3. He put on some muscle, and his ball had more zip outside the numbers, but we'll never know what would happen there. I just think that if the offense was fully catered to him, he could have operated. But after the whole knee injury thing, I just think things were just off with some of his mechanics, some of his psyche, possibly. Because, I mean, how could you ever be fully confident stepping into a throw after what happened to your leg? So, but I do think what really made me love Teddy is that, so Louisville played a lot on Thursdays, back his last year with the Cardinals. And you would always, if you weren't watching the game, like if you were watching whatever, it would always chime in on the TV or on social media, Teddy Bridgewater leading him down and making a play when he needed it. And you saw flashes of it. We didn't get the full Teddy experience. And yeah, people are going to knock him because of arm strength and all that stuff, but he was just getting his footing underneath him, and then his leg socially distanced from his body, and it's really unfortunate. But easy kid to root for. I mean, you could see why people love him as a person. It just is what it is. Doobie Sack. Hey, Andy, do you think we will move up to get a quarterback like Caleb since we tried to get Bryce Young this year? Thoughts? Yes, potentially. Jeffrey Fisher, Andy, my question starts with an observation. Kirk plays elite when he's protected well, so instead of focusing on replacing him, why don't the Vikings focus on building an elite offensive line in the middle and give the new quarterback time that he needs? It seems like a glaring weakness we've had for years. Also really enjoy the work. Your insights and instincts are often spot on. Thank you. This is from a fan that played high school ball back in Page and Eller's heyday. Also, I did a 1-year tour of duty in South Korea as a platoon leader the year the Olympics were held there. It's a beautiful culture. I enjoyed it very much. So that was 88. What was that? Yeah. First off, thank you for your service. Also, Kirk. That was a knock on Kirk when he came from Washington. Where Kirk back in the day, he had an elite offensive line from him because he had Trent Williams, he had Scherf, he had Morgan Moses. Who's the center back then? Doesn't matter. He had a great offensive line there. And Kirk, in a weird way, Kirk and Justin Fields are very similar. Is that if you have a perfect offensive line in front of them, which Justin Fields did for much of his time at Ohio State, featuring our guy Wyatt Davis, he can do some things. Where Kirk succeeded despite the offensive line last year. He really did. But, they're banking on continuity. If the guys can stay healthy and suture up the interior offensive line, they can go from there. 33 baby, 38 baby, whatever number of babies. After the season, if the Vikings don't play bad enough to get a high draft pick and trade for Caleb Williams or Drake May, who do you think could be the next quarterback in line? I think a sneaky quarterback, sounds interesting to me, is Shadir Sanders, Grayson McCall. Your thoughts? I like Shadir Sanders. I don't know if he's NFL caliber. We'll see. What he can do at Colorado. Obviously, he was a monster and a star at Jackson State, but you do have to factor in caliber competition. But Sanders does have some tools. Grayson McCall I like a lot as well. I feel like some of the quarterbacks are going to be drafted high next year. Like we're not even factoring in. All right, so like the Florida State kid, Van Dyke. There's going to be guys that just completely rise and come on over. It's like jumping Joe Burrow. Heading into the 2019 season, he was seen as what? A 5th or 6th round pick? Maybe. And then he had his 2019 season with Justin Franklin Jefferson, and he was the number 1 overall pick. It's kind of crazy. Justin Miller. Realistic record for each NFC North team. Vikings, 11-6. Lions, 10-7. The Bears, 4-13, and then the Packers 4-13. There you go. Jack M. What is your opinion or prediction on Booth Jr. For this upcoming season? If he stays healthy, he could either start or at least get high level number of snaps. If he doesn't stay healthy, that could be it. That could be a wrap because the Vikings are bringing in a lot of youth, are bringing in a lot of depth at cornerback, so could be it. Holly Claire. Favorite Viking post 2010, not named Harrison Smith, and predict yards as well as touchdowns for Jordan Addison. Favorite Viking post 2010, not named Harrison. Well, Jefferson's the obvious answer, so I'll push that one aside. Percy Harvin is up there. Percy Harvin was always a lot of fun to watch. I guess Jared Allen would count into there. Ooh, Everson. I just love Everson, and I'm very happy that obviously we don't know these guys, but from glimpses that he puts out and his family puts out on social media, like it seems like he's in a very good place. It seems like he's happy right now, so very 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 happy about that. Addison, I'm gonna say 80 catches for 1,107 yards and 7 touchdowns. It's a pretty good rookie season. Reed King 65. Do you think they should put Jaren Hall through? Do you think they should put Jaren Hall through preseason to test the waters? After all, his deep passer rating is like 90. Do you think they should put Jaren Hall through preseason? Yeah, absolutely. Like Kirk's probably going to play sparingly. Give Jaren Hall the rest. Mullins is Mullins. I mean, you kind of know what you have in Nick Mullins. All right, so just give Mullins enough to, all right, check in the box. He's a veteran backup. And then let Jaron Hall slay the rest. See what you got there. Clinton Ressig. Is a top 10 defense possible for the Vikings 2023? Top 10 might be a little bit pie in the sky, but I think top half of the league, I think that's possible. Just through sheer aggression and intensity that Flores is going to bring. Neeson Onus, do you believe the Vikings could become Super Bowl contenders with the 53-man rooster at this point? Yes. Offense is the name of the game. The defense is going to be opportunistic, and this is going to be a good team, man. This is going to be a good team. Scully, will you give Cousins a long-term extension, 3 years, if he wins the MVP, or will he have to win a Super Bowl? If he wins the MVP, I would give him a 3-year extension. Yes. 5, no. Okay. How do you manage to put out videos so frequently, given that you have a day job? Well, we generally do batching. So we'll have a couple of ideas, and then we'll just crank out 3-4 videos in a row. Like you'll notice, like sometimes our outfits change and whatnot, because I don't know. Sometimes I like being topless between videos. Maybe that's too much information. But generally, pretty efficient with our time, and also my day jobs are flexible enough that if breaking news happens, we can hop on here and take some time and do that. So overall, it's a time management thing. Having jobs, doing this, spending time with kids, but able to do all of that. AJ Lockwood, and not sleeping. I'm just kidding. Actually getting better, a little bit better on sleep now. What position are you most worried about the Vikings? For me, kicker. I guess interior offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker. Off ball. That's about it. Evan Casconaway. Do you think Jordan Hicks wins the starting job for week 1? If so, how long do you think that lasts? I think that he's penciled in as a starter right now, because if you look, I mean, him and Osabar are going to be the two off balls, because who else is going to take his spot? Dye, Pace, Reeder, Kwenku? Probably not. But, I mean, Hicks, they do have to hide Hicks in coverage. Like, he's a liability, but we'll see. Cody Elmore, what do you think JJ's thoughts are about Addison? I think, so JJ is a guy who always looks for the team first, and I think that he sees Addison as a guy who's going to take away some coverage away from him, or is going to be singled up and be putting up a lot of yards and a lot of points. And either way, this only benefits the offense. This only benefits the team, and I love it. And also, I think that Addison and JJ could be the dynamic duo long term. Jack Boutram. Will Jefferson get tired of mediocre seasons, or will he be content being a Hall of Fame player and all the Vikings great and never wins a championship? I just hope he doesn't leave someday. Well, they've improved every season. Well, no. But 13 wins last year, division title. I think that's a good start. Fortunately, they got embarrassed in the playoffs, but also I think JJ realized it was more on the defense than anything. But I think the Vikings, it's a good thing where you have this good pressure of like, hey, you have to be on the cutting edge. It's sort of like with, what we call soccer, what the world calls football players, where players want to be not only the place that pays the highest wages, but places that are able to get in the Champions League and contend for Champions League titles. That's exactly what they want. So I think it's a good pressure to have. Alan Williams, what do you think on the quarterback situation for the future, and what is your opinion on trading up next year? I think Kirk gives them the best chance to win this year. I'm intrigued by Jaron Hall, but also they should be having their head on a swivel looking to move up next year. Jake Lagovin, top 5 realistic quarterback options for 2024, not including Kirk. Go. Teddy? Nah. I guess Jaron Hall, and then 4 rookies. Michael Penix Jr., Van Dyke, Drake May, Caleb Williams, if you trade all the way up, Quinn Ewers possibly. We'll see. Jack Boutram. Realistically, how long would it take the Vikings to build a legitimate kill squad defense like the Niners? Probably 2-3 years. Take a couple of drafts. Yeah. John D., what's your opinion on ESPN's takeover of the Pat McAfee show? I just hope that they don't water down his brand. I know that that's been a major concern. And, McAfee and his crew sort of made light about fans' concern, which is sort of off-putting. But I understand what ESPN's doing. Like, they've been struggling because they're not king makers anymore, king or queen makers anymore. So they're just glomming on to what's popular and just slapping their name on it right now. But hopefully they don't mess with it, because what he does now is fantastic, right? And there's a reason why it's number one. So hopefully ESPN doesn't ruin what makes the McAfee show great. Jimmy Butler, how did you do fishing? God, I suck so bad. I got one tiny rockfish, like yay big, and everyone else on the damn boat was just reeling them in. Jamie, who went fishing with me, she crushed it. She had like a dozen fish, and I was just like, And so I felt kind of bad because of course I posed with my little dinky fish, sent it to my kid, and then she's like, "Oh, he looks so silly," because rockfish are like, with the insides and then the eyes bug out, but it's like, so rockfish, they're delicious and amazing. They're deep water, and when they come up, it's something with like the pressure, it explodes and expands. So overall, it's like they come out looking really silly and cartoonish, but I mean, it's probably a really horrible death, horrible way to go. Yeah, it's rough. Wish I would have caught more though. Anyways, sand dams. DeJohn Green, travel credit card you recommend if you have one? Just use Delta. Get good points towards flights and all that stuff, and just charge and then pay it off and all that stuff, and sort of go from there. Jeff H, how about an all if you could have stayed out of trouble Vikings team, partial roster? Anyways, it's actually a good offseason idea. We'll write that one down. Jordan T, who are the Vikings beating in the Super Bowl? Chiefs. You want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Manny, D-Hop had good numbers when he came back last year. If he had a quarterback like Kirk, his numbers could have been even better. Having him would take so much pressure off of JJ. I agree, but I mean, I think Hopkins is going to get crazy money somewhere else. The Vikings probably shouldn't offer that much to a guy who's north of 30. And also, I mean, separation was never like the main part of what makes him good, but I mean, he's certainly a little bit slower. Todd Hazelbrook, with the best offensive line in front of you, how many yards would you be getting in an NFL game? As a runner? 4. I would have one carry for 4 yards, and then I'd be like, done. That's it. Eric Francis, would you bet on the Lions to win the division? Maybe as like an emotional hedge where it's like, hey, the Vikings didn't win, but the Lions did. At least I have my money. But then watch the stupid Bears would somehow win at like 7-10. Yeah. Anyways, that is it. That is this week's Q&A. Thanks for submitting questions. You guys are the best. Skol, production value.